You're not just an animator, you are a filmmaker. And you're not just creating animations, you are creating shots and sequences of shots. So even if you're just making a short in stop motion, 3D or 2D animation, you're going to need to know the basics of cinematography. And that's what we're going to explore in this tutorial. Perhaps the first point to make is that, after an establishing shot that shows the setting, the action should fill the frame. Or reverse it. Start close and go out for a big reveal. Only go as wide as needed to show the viewer what they need to see. Even if your character is small, drop the camera down to the character's eye level, just as you'd expect in a live-action movie. Think of it as bringing your viewer into the character's world. From there, though, note that looking up at a character gives them a feeling of power, while looking down on them can make them feel weak or small. Then determine what the focal point of the shot is and arrange the shot to direct the viewer's attention to it. Robert Zemeckis refers to it as the red dot of the shot. Where should the viewer be looking? Here it's hard to tell, but using the elements of the shot to frame the subject directs the viewer to the focal point. No matter how much stuff is in your shot, everything in the scene should help frame that focal point.
Sorry, maybe my invitation got lost in the mail.
And as you're creating that focus, give the shot depth by considering what should be in the foreground, midground, and background of the scene. The midground is usually the subject, and the environment is in the background. But are there elements that can be positioned closer to the camera to give the shot full depth and to create a complete environment for your character? Depth is partly determined by the lens. If you're shooting with a DSLR, you may be choosing between a short wide-angle lens and a long telephoto lens. High-end phones have these options as well. Wide-angle lenses make things feel further apart, exaggerating the distance between elements and giving the scene an open, spacious feeling. A telephoto lens makes things feel closer together. You decide what the scene calls for.
Oh.
Now let's look at some cinematography rules so you can break them later. Perhaps you have heard of the rule of thirds. This is where you imagine a grid like this over the scene. Focal points tend to look strongest when they are along one of these 1/3 lines or at the intersection points. It is especially more interesting if there is a diagonal between two subjects. Not that you need to position a grid in your viewfinder for every composition. Just consider if the setup would be stronger if the character were to be off-center, like putting some space in front of them. Then there's the 180 rule. Imagine a line running through the two characters in your scene. When you cut from character to character, stay on one side of that line. If you cross the line, it creates the illusion that the characters themselves suddenly moved. This can be applied to chase scenes, where everything needs to appear to be moving in the same direction throughout the sequence. When considering how your shots will cut together in editing, make sure there is plenty of contrast between each shot. If the camera just moves forward across the cut, it's called a jump cut. To avoid jump cuts, make sure there is plenty of contrast between shots, moving the camera to one side or the other, or higher or lower than the previous shot. An intentional jump cut can add punch to a line of dialogue.
Phrases everything! I'm your #1 fan!
Or they can show the passage of time. Diagonals make a composition feel more dramatic. Unless you're Wes Anderson, in which you intentionally avoid diagonals and always put your character dead center. This is art. We follow the rules when we don't want to draw attention to the camera and the filmmaker, but then we break the rules responsibly to add an accent to a moment or to create a specific feeling like disorientation. Camera moves have their own set of rules and techniques which you can learn about and then break the rules in my tutorial on animating the camera. Meanwhile, as you set up your shots for your films, just consider how these techniques of cinematography can enhance the visual impact of your project. Thanks for watching.